Every damn day.
Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And we're here with our good friend Dayjah today, and we're going to talk about Lansing Everett. We're going to talk about volleyball, and we're going to talk about her pretty powerful organization, Phoenix Rising. So, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, because sometimes when a guest shows up, they're like nervous and worried about it and have this energy that goes with that, and you just showed up with positive energy, got me all hyped up. Gonna make me run laps probably.
That's what my girls do.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Makes sense.
So let's talk about you a little bit. You've got before Everett, before Rising Phoenix. Tell us something about you.
About me.
Yeah. Your whole life story in 10 minutes.
Oh, this is easy. So I was born on a Friday. I think that says a lot about me. People who are born on Fridays, it says a lot about a person. Figure out when you were born. But born and raised in Lansing. I was in the Lansing School District up until the 4th grade. Then I went to a charter school. Then high school came and I went to Waverly for a year, but then I switched over to Everett. And my mom was like, you have to do something. And I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. Well, I happened to jump 10 feet in the air. So I made the volleyball team. And that's what I've been doing. That's pretty much since 2011 been my life, volleyball. And from Everett, I went to Lansing Community College and played volleyball. Then from Lansing Community College, I went to Jackson State down in Mississippi and played volleyball. And then once I finished doing that, that's what puts me at, where are we at age 21. Got pregnant with my baby boy, James. And through my pregnancy, I coached until I was, 6 months pregnant. Then had him 2 months, got coaching. And ever since, been coaching. So
nice.
I was born and then played volleyball.
Born and raised in Lansing. You know, I went to Everett for 1 year.
How was it?
I went to Eastern. Dang,
I'm sorry.
Messing with the Quakers. It's only 2 blocks away.
That's oatmeal. We eat oatmeal.
You guys never seen a guest shut me up before, have you? I don't know how to respond to this because I'm gonna say good things about Everett. But it was a long time ago. It was in 1981, so a lot longer than when you were there.
Yeah.
But I loved, like, Sam Davis was my history teacher. I don't know if his name's still around anymore.
I don't know.
I wrestled for them. The reason I moved was to wrestle for Eastern.
Makes sense.
Because it was a lot better thing. But Everett was fun, man. It was a lot of fun.
Big personalities.
Yes. Yes, that is true. And I remember from Everett, I just ran into a guy the other day who did this with me. We played Tonk every day in the cafeteria at lunchtime. And, it was illegal gambling.
Yeah.
You could get kicked out of school for it. Those are some of my fondest memories at Everett.
See, Everett's cool. I always say the Lansing School District as a whole, if you say you went to any of the schools, I'm always going to be on your team. But if it's not Everett, I have to not be on your team for like 2 seconds. But we're a family.
Yeah, we're a family. So what did you study?
Psychology, study of the mind.
Yeah. Does that help you with coaching?
It does. You get all these different personalities with these problems, and they're anywhere from like 14 to 18 years old. And, when you're in high school, something small can be the end of your world.
Oh, right.
And you have a coach who's been through it. I'm like, hey, let's talk about it. And then I tell them, go. We have a game to play, or we have a practice to go to. But with me having the background in psychology, they know that if they don't feel comfortable talking to like a parent, or even in some cases, it's been times where they didn't want to talk to their therapist. They're like, no, because we know that you know what to say. They come to me, so it just all worked out. I'm like, ooh,
so
look at that.
I find coaches a staple in our communities. Yeah. I often say that Lansing raised me. and I'll talk about coaches and teachers and mentors and parents and neighbors and all of that. I'm really talking about the coaches.
Yeah.
So, I mean, coaches have an impactful effect.
And
or
it's
impact.
it's how they can impact you. Like granted, your mom can say, "Oh yeah, go run a lap." No, when you're on a team, it's you and a bunch of other people, and the coach is like, I have to make sure that this functions, and everybody has to be. I tell my girls, we are just a functioning machine.
Mhm.
And if we stop functioning, of course it's gonna come back to me. And I'm like, I don't want anything coming back to me. So you just are held accountable a different way. Um, I can't really describe it, but it's just different. Because like you, my coaches are a huge part of who I am today. Um, yeah, I can. Whenever anybody asks me like, "Dang, how'd you get here?" I literally can like, okay, Kyle Anderson, that was my AAU coach, and he was the coach that I had right after my best friend passed. And I will never forget the practice that I had with him. And he pulled me to the side and he goes, "I'm not gonna baby you anymore." And I'm like, "I don't need you to baby me." And he was like, "Okay, cool." Everybody else around me is like, "Oh, we have to." I'm like, "No, I'm a human being. I'm perfectly fine." But without that coach, I told him, "You have one season with me. If I hate volleyball, I will never play again." And that season in December of 2013, best season ever. Do I remember it? No, because it was the worst mentally. But that coach pushed me to. A coach has the ability to push you, like really push you. A parent can, you don't listen to your parents, but like you have a choice whether you're gonna come in the gym or not.
Yeah.
So it's that weird connection. Like, yeah, you're making me do crazy stuff in the gym, but like, this might pay off in the end.
So, we don't prep that much before the show. Do you mind? Like, can you tell us about your best friend?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So my best friend, her name's Dayjah. Her birthday's. We were just talking about birthdays. Fun fact: her birthday's the day before mine. So I started in 2011. She was in middle, I was in middle, and we were two idiots that were just. I'm like, oh, this was destined. Let me see. So we played sophomore, junior, senior year. Around the time we finished our senior year, and then there was 2 weeks before we went into club season together. She committed suicide. So that was. Imagine being 17 and you just wake up one morning and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, your friend's gone." I'm just like, and I always tell people like, there's like moments in my life that like really made me. That right there was like make or break. And I told my mom I'll never forget going into her room and I'm like, "Oh, I'm done." I'm like, "I don't know what you want to take from this." I'm like, "But I'm done. I don't want to do volleyball. Let me just graduate. Let me just go with the flow." Like, I don't too much care about anything. Like I said, I had a coach who his father, it was just weird how everything just fell into place. His father commit suicide, and that was still to this day one of my favorite coaches, and he guided me through the process. I'm like, this is new territory. Like, my mom just essentially lost a daughter. But yeah, so if you ever want to swing by to a game, we don't wear the number 11 jersey. I didn't too much care for like how they shed a light on the situation. So I'm the type of person, if you don't make a way for me, I will make a way for myself. So they told us that we couldn't do certain stuff. We buried her with her jerseys because they were trying to, force us to give her jerseys back and X, Y, and Z. I'm like, this was one of the top athletes at the school. So from 2013, it's 2020 now. We don't wear the number 11. Like I said, her birthday is in 2 weeks. So
you're saying that, like, and I'm thinking they won't let you retire the number. You just won't wear it. Is that
correct? So we don't order it. We don't do it. We don't. And my volleyball girls last year, they know, anybody that comes within my program knows we don't do 11. Senior night last year, their goal was to make me cry, and so They're warming up. It's senior night. I'm all over the place trying to make sure everything's like good, flustered. My turn, and everybody's wearing these black shirts. Well, I'm the coach, and I didn't okay you guys to switch anything. And they have pictures of me and my best friend on the front with number 11 on the back. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are getting it. Because I'm like, that's what it's all about. Like, they know that's something that's like super important to me. They're like, yeah, we wanted to surprise you, and they planned on doing like a moment of silence for her because, like I said, the school district told us we weren't allowed to do anything on school grounds, and I was like, to this day, I feel some type of way about that. But
I'm feeling some type of way about that right now.
I was like, anybody that comes to the building, I always show them. If you're familiar with Everett, you know, there's the football, and then there's a gate, and then there's a church. They told us we have to be on the other side of the fence. So when I see that church, that's what I think of every single time. But yeah, I'm not one to let anybody tell me what I can and can't do. Because like I said, if you come through the program, you know her name, you know what she meant to the program, and it's every time we're in the gym, like I'll tell a funny story. My girls said last year, they said, coach, we've never met her before, but we feel like we know her because there's a story for everything. We have girls sneaking food, like they'll get a water break, come back with food. I was like, yeah, there was a time where of all things we could have ate and tried to sneak at practice, a Nature Valley granola bar. You know those the messy ones that are like you need like a gallon of water to swallow it. And our coach is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, They're like, "Oh, Delilah, what you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We feel like we know her." I'm like, "That's the goal." Like, I tell them to like not necessarily like challenge everything, but like challenge everything. Challenge it. Why not? If you're not being, unruly, then challenge it. It's especially if it's something that like is close to your heart. Like that was my homegirl. My first tattoo. It's right here. I have her signature on me. If it's something close to your heart, do it. I'm like, what do you mean I can't honor my best friend? But if she would have won a state championship, she would have been all over, right? Oh, okay.
So this is really making Everett, Lansing School District, you should do better in this situation.
Well, so that was what, 2013. Recently, we had a few football players pass, and they did a phenomenal job. Like I was like, I love that they did that because I tell my girls, I'm happy that I went through it and you guys don't have to. Because when I tell you that broke me, I'm like, what do you mean? We couldn't do anything. We're going to leave like notes on our locker. And they're like, no, you guys can't do anything. I'm just like, huh. They have, with the football players that pass, they have allowed the students to grieve properly. I guess that's the best way for me to say it. They allowed the students to actually move through the emotions, because I don't think they were thinking like, you're going to tell a group of high schoolers they can't mourn the death of their friend, their classmate. It's like, I don't know, but they've changed. I was actually hoping that they would do better, because
maybe you and Delilah paved that way,
and I will be that. I tell my girls frequently, if I have to be the stepping stone, let me be the stepping stone. That was
as long as we get there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So with that being a suicide, do you think that guided you in the direction of psychology?
Yes. So it was my sophomore year at LCC, and I met with my psych advisor, and I was just casually, I talk about Delilah all the time, and she like stopped, and she's like, you do know this is some heavy stuff that you went through when you were 17 and your brain wasn't even fully developed, and you're just out here, never took a break, never stopped playing volleyball, never. And I was like, I guess. And she's like, you have such, she's like, you just have this like heart that's in the right place. Why not like try to help others? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a child psychologist. Well, then I went to Jackson State, and got to my senior year, and I'm like, oh yeah, child therapy, I'm going to do it. I'm going to help as many kids as possible. And then Dr. Schweitzer, she was like, you have to be prepared for the children that you can't save. She's like, because that's why I got out of it. She's like, the reasons that you're giving me right now, she's like, they are wholeheartedly great reasons. She's like, but you have to know that you can't save everybody. You have to be prepared for that. So that's when I graduated, I came home, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I have this psychology degree. I know that I want to help children, but like, I know from just losing July, I can't take another loss like that because I connect to people. I'm one of those weirdos that I can make myself cry thinking of something happening to somebody that I love.
I almost cried already 3 times in this conversation.
Please don't cry. Please don't cry. But then coaching, once I got into coaching, it was it like clicked. It's like, you want to help children. You want to do all this stuff with your psych degree with children. I'm like, girl, you're a coach. Let's really talk about it. People don't know the calls that I get with my kids going through stuff at home, and they don't really know what to talk. I'm like, girl, you are a child therapist right now. Granted, that's not what's on my job description, but it's weird how stuff just kind of like falls in place. And I always say, I'm like, man, I'll talk to Delilah like, girl, I'm the head of the volleyball program right now. I'm like, I lost you. And for a split second, like my world was just black. And I'm just like, I don't know what's about to happen. And here it is. It'll be 9 years in December. I'm like, the world never fell apart. It was just simply shifting my views of everything and seeing like, hey, there's a million Delilahs around the world. And I tell my girls, you just need one person sometimes. Like, you honestly just need one. And they're like, Coach, you're the one for us. And I'm like, oh, thank you. That degree that I worked so hard for, it makes sense now. I have have family sometimes say, well, you have a psychology degree, when are you going to do something with it? I'm like, oh, if you only knew.
The answer is I am doing something.
If you only knew. I step into the gym and I can read body language. Okay, what's going on? Have you eaten? Are you okay? Is something going on at home? Is your boyfriend acting crazy? Like, if you guys only knew, that psychology degree comes in handy. And I will textbook like, oh, do you want to know the name of what's going on right now? Do you want to know? And they're like, Coach, that's so cool. I'm like, is it?
Do you ever make something up like you got dumbass syndrome or something?
No, but I just told one of my volleyball girls, so in a group, I said, I come to the gym with you guys on a regular. I was like, I know you guys to a T. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, okay. One of my volleyball girls' name is Ella. I said, I can count on you to ask a question, but it will make no sense until I've asked the question to you and you answer it. And she's like, oh, I'm like, the mannerisms. I'm like, I can count on a girl, her name's Lanisha. I can count on her to be on the court dancing the most inappropriate times. I mean, arguing with the ref. I'm trying to be serious, and I'm like, I know your personalities. So me coaching them is like an experience. My senior that recently graduated, Jada, she said, Coach, I know you're my coach. And she's like, I know coaches are supposed to be like mentors. She's like, but you're like a big sister. She's like, that's the best way to like describe what you do. She's like, because it's like a level of like comfortable. And she's like, and I'm the oldest at my house. She's like, but when I'm around you, it's like you're a sister. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's the goal, I guess. And they call me, they want to FaceTime.
That sounds awesome, though,
yeah.
Especially for an older kid.
Yeah.
A kid that's the older.
Yeah.
Needs somebody guiding them and mentoring.
I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'm doing my job right. Just maybe.
So do you think you've processed it all? Like Delilah killed herself, you went right into volleyball.
Man.
And working hard.
Do
you ever worry about
that? Is such a great question. So this has been this year specifically, I've put myself, I call them like therapy sessions with Dayjah. Granted, I have like that degree in psychology, and my friends are like, yeah, you're our personal therapist. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put myself in therapy. My therapist is like, yeah, you're really easy because she'll tell me to do something. It's already in my notes. So I was saying that I didn't really process everything, and I realized it when I went through my first season as a head coach. I'm in every single gym that we used to play in. And we played at a tournament at Eastern last year. And I made a TikTok. It's so funny. I TikTok everything.
Well, what's
And
your
I'm-
TikTok? Let's give people.
Oh, my TikTok is Dayjah, Dayjahmay. But with the TikTok, it was me in my car, and I'm just crying. I'm just crying, and I was like, I have 3 minutes until I have to go into this gym and be a coach. And I'm thinking when I walk into Eastern Fieldhouse, I said when I was here, when I was at this field house last, they had a chair for my best friend because she couldn't walk at graduation. Like that's the only thing that I could think of walking into Eastern. And we played the tournament. We got halfway through the teams that we were supposed to play, and they were playing horrible. They were being horrible teammates. And I told them, you guys go talk about it. Because if I have to come over here, it's not going to be nice. And I ended up having to talk to them. And I was just like, I just started bawling. I was like, I don't think you guys are processing the opportunity that you have right now. I was like, if I could have my best friend walk into this gym and I can go and just simply, play a game of volleyball with her. Like, do you guys know what I would do to have that? Now everybody's crying and we win every game after. Because the core of Everett is us being a family. It was it last year or the year before last? I lost another volleyball teammate, and I hadn't talked to Tony in. I couldn't tell you the last time that I talked to Tony, but I was explaining to them. I'm like, my teammate was shot, and there's a video of my teammate being shot. I'm like, and I haven't spoken to her, and I was distraught, like on the floor crying. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you guys have to understand that that's what you guys are forming when you're in the gym. It's such a unique experience to be a part of a team. I'm like, I explained it to them this way. You have a family, correct? Do you love every single one of your family members? Yeah. Do you like every single one? Absolutely not. I'm like, I know that there's probably a cousin that you want to just punch. Like you punch, but when you go to grandma's house, is everybody cordial? Right. We're gonna eat Thanksgiving. And if we leave, we don't have to talk. I was like, that is Everett volleyball. I was like, and because that's Everett volleyball, you're forming these connections, and I'm talking, I needed help, and I called my coach, and he hadn't been my coach in years. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm like, that's what we're forming right here.
Every coach I ever had would have been there in 5 minutes.
I called Jupe. He said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And still to this day, if I call him, he's there to help. And I'm like, you never know who you're going to meet when. So be nice. I'm like, simply be nice. I'm like, I'm asking you guys to simply be nice. I'm like, you guys don't know what's going on in each other's lives. So be nice. This is your time to unwind. Like, I remember being in high school and going to the tournaments, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, and sleeping right after. Now I'm 25. That doesn't happen. Like, you mean to tell me I could just go play volleyball with my friends all day, and my parents are going to bring food for us to eat? Like,
So, do you find that coaching is a big part of your therapy?
Yes.
I mean, is that really how you're resolving it?
Yes. With Delia being gone, of course, me being in the gym, I think about her all the time because, like I said, these are the same gyms that we used to play in. But being able to look at some girls and identify some traits, and me as a coach be like, hey, let's step to the side and let's talk. What's going on? What do you need? And actually tell them. There's one girl specifically, like, pulled her to the side. I'm like, hey, I've seen this before. I was like, I can tell you how it ended, but I think you've heard enough how it ends. I'm like, you have to know that you have somebody. Like that's really the thing. And me being the somebody for not just my varsity program, but for all freshmen and JV and even the 7th and 8th graders. Like that is what gets me going. Like there's been times where I have attempted to have the worst day ever and I go into the gym and I see these bozos and I'm like, I love y'all. I don't even know what you guys are doing. Like I love y'all. Oh, we love you too, coach. I'm like, y'all, they do so much and they don't even realize what they do. I'm like that is being able to one make sure that I'm doing everything in my power so my best friend is not forgotten. That's up there. And then to know that it's at the school that that's where everything started. It's priceless. Like I can make it through. Like, it's all right. And I make a lot of dead best friend jokes. They're my favorite. Oh my gosh. Watch this. So if you're ever in a situation where something is super funny, right? I go, oh, what did Delia say? And they're like, what? I'm like, I'm dead. And people are just like, I'm like, that's when you laugh. Get it? Because she's like dead. But yeah, it puts a smile on my face. Also, because most people are uncomfortable with it, you have to understand, I faked my death for a prank for her. That was our junior year. So I faked my death in Lake Michigan. I floated like I was dead to see her reaction, right? And I after I realized, I had been dead for long enough, she's like, no, Lord, why would you take Dayjah? I'm like, okay, cool. And then she, got me back and actually died or whatever. So I'm like, I feel like I should be able to joke about this because
I think you can do whatever the hell you want.
Sorry. What do you mean? What do you mean you're actually dead? That's not how it's supposed to go.
It isn't, is it? So, my daughter died of a fentanyl overdose
Oh, no.
5 years ago. And what I do here, I deal with people with substance use almost every day.
Mhm.
And it's my therapy here, dealing with that. But I've got this Phoenix Rising
That's
on
so
my
cool.
thumb that my wife designed to kind of make me remember that I can rise out of this. So tell me your Phoenix Rising story.
The Rising Phoenix.
The Rising Phoenix.
Do. It's okay. Regardless, we're going up. So how did Rising Phoenix come to be? So after I graduated from college, I came back and I wanted to coach at 2 different clubs in the area, and they just weren't the fit for me. I then did my season at Everett last year, and when I was going through the season, you touch Eastern, you touch Everett, things like that, right? It's always been a thing where if Everett steps into a gym, if Eastern steps into a gym, if Sexton steps into a gym, that's an easy win. When I tell you that makes my skin crawl, I'm like, okay, well let's look at the formula for all of the other schools, right? Majority of the other schools have clubs that they can funnel their girls to and have them, get the extra during the winter. So when they come back in the summer, they've been playing club volleyball. And I'm like, okay, well, why would you not? I'm like, well, why are inner city kids not going? Well, then I took it back to when I was in high school. And I'm like, okay, club was like $600 for 3 months playing. $600 for some families, that's not doable. Well, now it's $1,700. That's a lot of money. And I'm like, okay, cool. If most kids don't have $1,700 to spare or $800 to spare, depending on how long they play, that immediately is weeding out a section of people. I don't like that. So Eastern Fieldhouse, that day that I was telling you that they played horrible, we were playing Sexton, and there was their middle. Every time that she went up to hit, she was in the net. And you could just see how defeated she was. And I'm sitting on the bench. Of course we're winning, but I'm like, my head's down and I'm like, okay, I know that I'm supposed to be taking something from this. I'm supposed to be taking something from it. So we end up winning the game. And I go to the coach. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I go work with her really quick? And she was like, yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead. I took her up to the net and I teach my girls how to block by putting their arms up, and then I make them spin, and then I make them crump. Like, you have to really I'm like, throw some moves out there. If you can dance and not touch the net, you're golden. And so I went through, the hitting, the blocking. I'm like, this is your sweet spot. The next game, she was never in the net. And so the parents at Sexton, they're like, you're not her coach. You're an opponent. And you just helped her out. They're like, you need to be doing something. And I'm like, well, I know I need to be doing something. And I said, oh, well, maybe I'll do a clinic. And I'm like, no. It's like a clinic it's not right. Like, it's not sitting in my spirit right. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe like a volleyball club, maybe. And I'm like, but how would I do that? I would need the gym space. When I played club, we were at Court 1. I'm like, that's a lot of money, like to rent gyms and volleyballs and travel fees. And I'm like, okay, so a gym is out of it. So I want to say I talked to CISO, ran it by him, and he was going to look at some gyms out in East Lansing. I started to look at gyms, and then I just stopped. And I'm like, it might not be something that can be done. Well, my brother, I get on Facebook and I see my brother has bought an auto. And I was like, Otto has a gym.
Wait, what? Who's your brother?
Derek Knox, or DJ. I call him DJ.
Happy birthday, DJ, yesterday.
Yeah, it was his
I didn't know
birthday.
it was your.
That's my brother. It's my big brother.
I love learning stuff.
So I get on Facebook and I'm like, oh, my brother's like, yeah, my brother's out in Grand Rapids, and he's like, man, I was out here, and he was like, did you see that black dude bought Otto? And he's like, oh yeah, that's my brother. And so I sat in my car and I was like, let me call DJ up. And I'm like, hey, I'm like, you have to listen to me talk. Like, let me tell you the full story, and then I'm going to ask you something. I walked him through everything, and I was like, I've been so like on the, I don't know if this is something that's going to happen. I was like, because it's my baby. I was like, this is something that I don't want too many people to touch it. I was like, but is there any way that I can like possibly use the gym at Otto? He was like, it's your home court. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, oh, so now I have a gym. The volleyball club will be up and running fully as far as like competing this winter. I'm speaking it. Training, if you know somebody that wants to be trained, and it's low cost. Right now, I'm looking for sponsors for a clinic that I'm doing, so I can have 4th through 8th graders come and get volleyball training. But that's like where Rising Phoenix came from. And you think of like the Lansing area. Outside looking in, it's just Lansing. Like, it's whatever. But when you think about how many successful people have come out of Lansing specifically, and what they could have possibly went through, because everybody doesn't tell their stories. Like, everybody doesn't say the full, everything. I could have been done when Delia died. And I always tell people, and I'm like, but I never took a day off, never missed any school, never missed a volleyball tournament. I remember crying, literally crying in the car. And then I played at LCC. They still were pretty interested, like after everything happened. And the coach, my high school coach is the assistant coach at LCC. So he knew the situation. That could have easily knocked me out. And I'm like, oh, I used it. And the level of play from losing Delia to playing with her name on my shoes, I'm like, I don't know. it's like my Space Jam water or something. Like it propelled me. And that's just it rising like that just from the ground. I look back, I look at film on YouTube when I was playing. I did not know what was going on. Like, and that was the me being knocked down completely. And now everything just seems to just be going up and up and up and up and up. And I know that there are so many other girls around here with stories similar to mine that maybe they don't want to share them. Maybe they don't have the anybody that they're comfortable sharing it with. Maybe I you never know the reason for why they don't want to share it, but everybody has a story and everybody sometimes is down. But the goal is to it's what do you do when you're down? Are you gonna stay down or are you gonna rise to the occasion? And that's what we're doing.
Can we have 3 more shows? Because I got so much to talk to you
Okay,
about.
sure.
Now. I want to talk to you about Shayna Allen and Tomboy and how you keep young ladies engaged in sports in the TikTok age, the fingernail age, right? I want to so many things. But
I love TikTok.
I'm going to follow you and I'm going to try to step up my game a little bit. I'm trying to get to 1,000. I can't go.
See, the goal is 10. I think I'm at 6,000 right now.
See, I don't have anything good to show. You got others.
See, but you do. That's what I tell people because they're like, "Why do you have so many followers?" Because my life's a joke. Like, I'm 17. My best friend decided to die. That's crazy.
Do you mix personal and coaching and all that in TikTok?
Yeah. So last year it was like, first day of practice. My girls love stealing my phone. I'm like, you're gonna be on TikTok. That's congratulations. One of my best friends got married. I couldn't find the bra for the wedding. Went viral because I didn't know where a bra was. I'm like, TikTok is just the world of who's gonna blow up next. My life's a joke. I just happen to make it look good, I guess.
I'm stealing a bunch of lines from you today. My life's a joke. I'm gonna probably put a cuss word in there.
My life's a joke. Are you gonna cry about it or are you gonna laugh? I'm gonna laugh.
Yes.
I'm probably gonna cry too, but like I'll laugh too.
I was just telling someone yesterday, if you don't make mistakes and laugh at yourself while you're making them, you're not
living right. You're just gonna be boring. I want to laugh. I laugh at everything. I tried, like, somebody told me about their dog dying. I'm like, I'm telling you in advance, I'm going to laugh. Like, don't tell me stuff.
Do you know what Rufus said? I'm dead.
Isn't that great?
You mind if I ramble a little bit?
Of course.
First of all, I see you, and we don't really know each other. I mean, we've seen each other and all of that. I feel like I know you a lot better right now.
Yay!
And I see you as like the perfect person to be the coach at this perfect time.
Yes.
These kids need you. There's gaps in our mentoring. There is so much happening that there's a lot to be depressed about. They really need you, and I couldn't think of anybody better than you to do this. And not that you need my affirmation. I'm really trying to say I'm super proud to have you on the show.
Yay, thank you so much.
Think you're the first and only Black-owned woman volleyball club in Michigan, in the U.S. And
wait, I don't know. In the U.S.
In the world.
In the world. Hey, other Black women, I didn't sign off on this. If you're Black-owned, I just claim Lansing.
Well, let's just say more importantly, not everybody is getting opportunities that they should be getting. And again, you are blazing a trail there, and I'm proud to have you on the show. Your work is super important.
Thank you so much.
How can people support?
So right now I'm looking,
you got some merch?
Yeah. Okay. We have two. Let's start with Everett and then we'll go. So at Everett, our goal this year is changing the narrative, right? Because I tell my girls while we're in the gym, of course we're athletes or whatever. When we're out of the gym, they're going to say, those are just girls from Everett. Those are just kids from Everett. My motto is we're not just Everett. We're more than just Everett. We've had a lot of people think Magic Johnson when they think of Everett. We got Camilla. She's doing art. We got Sarah. Everybody. There's more than just Magic Johnson coming out of Everett.
And where's he at right now anyway? Sorry.
Most people don't realize I started my 10th grade year at Everett. I went Division I, didn't pay a penny for school. I'm I'm a Division I athlete, and there's so many other people who have come out of Everett. So for this year, I've collaborated with CISO. We're doing not just Everett sweatshirts because we're not just Everett, and it's on the back because typically, you see an Everett kid, you looking at them. We're not just Everett, and I need everybody to know that we're beyond it. We're beyond it. It's easy to think of we're gonna go to Everett. There's gonna be gang violence. No, absolutely not. The art program, Mrs. Collins, she's been there for years. The art that she's producing, like, and this is like consistent. When I was there, I won an art show. I don't tell people I do art. I do a lot of stuff, but that's beyond the teachers that really love and that you get at Everett. Konietzko.
Yeah.
These are the
Shout out to
teachers.
entrepreneurialism.
Yeah, the teachers that like love and nurture. Just to take it back to when Dayjah died. When Dayjah died, I'm typically upbeat, but for a little bit I was just down. Miss Collins took me to the front of the room, and granted, we had like assignments that we had to do. She took me to the front of the class and she taught me how to knit. And at the moment, I'm just like, okay. By the end of the day, I knit myself a headband. And they're like, oh, we didn't know that you knew how to do this. And I was like, yeah, Miss Collins. And then I think I went back to her and I was just crying. And I was like, Miss Collins, I was just, she's like, I knew. And I'm like, and you gave me something new to do. The teachers that care, I don't want to say you can't find it at another school, but that's just not, that's just, she's an angel. You have so much at Everett. That I don't think people are watering enough, but I guess that's what I was put here to do, because I need a light to shine, not just on football, because we do have a phenomenal football program, phenomenal football coaches. The band, my best friend's like doing stuff with the drum line. He's putting music together. He's signaling something. After that, Rising Phoenix gear, because
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with gear for me.
So
if you look at the logo though, this because I'm obsessed with it. So this right here is me, my senior year of high school. We were playing.
Nice.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
But
So Dayjah, for anybody that's listening, is in the in Phoenix is the circle basically. But it's a volleyball player. It looks
that
awesome.
season was the season before I lost my best friend. That picture is a picture that people share when they're talking about like, oh yeah, Dayjah's an athlete. No, my head was over the net. My hand is like where the antenna is. Like I'm jumping 10 feet in the air. That's an Everett kid. Like a lot of people talk about, oh, Everett, this is what's happening. I'm an Everett kid. Like you have to put some degrees. We have them. We have stuff to show. So I have Rising Phoenix gear. If you guys want to sponsor, my Facebook is Dayjah May, but also like Rising Phoenix Volleyball Club on Facebook for updates. Oh, $5 Fridays. If you are not a child, if you're an adult and you haven't played volleyball in a while, if you just want to come get some touches, every Friday at A3, which is the old auto building, I do open gyms so people can come play volleyball. Like, let's have fun. And a lot of people are kind of intimidated because, yes, there are other gyms that you can play volleyball at, but a lot of people haven't played in years and they don't want to go back and be in a gym full of people who have been playing. And I'm like, please just come and let's laugh at each other learning. Granted, I'm active. I will stay off of the court if you guys are learning, but I need.
If I come and play, am I going to get hit in the face with a volleyball when you spike it down?
Fun fact, at the opening of the gym, I actually hit like a 2-year-old in the head. And I'm like, sweet. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I think I hit 2 people in the face. You make a joke out of it later, though? Yeah, I saw her at a pop-up shop. I'm like, hey, little girl, you remember me? No concussion? Cool. But yeah, come to the gym.
We're going to share all of this after the show and make sure it gets out there. What as we look at all of the different things that the Lansing School District and our kids are dealing with. I mean, there's a single mother has a 50% chance of being under the poverty line. Most of us are under the Alice threshold. We obviously have food insecurity. We've got this COVID thing. We've got all the institutional racism and bias that's happening around us. What's something, and I look at you and I think, if she's stronger, those problems get solved better. How can we help make you stronger? How can we help support you? Buying merch, Friday, $5 thing.
$5 Fridays.
Sponsor.
Buying, yes. Honestly, the best thing that would help me out is sponsoring kids. A lot of times, kids want to do stuff, but I know me growing up, I did not want to ask my mom for anything because my mom was a single mother, and I'm not trying to take any more money out of her pockets. It was me, my brother, and my little sister. I literally didn't start doing sports until 10th grade. I was not trying to be a burden. Sponsor a kid, give them something to do. And even beyond that, just honestly throw money, make it rain, because the more money that I have, the more free clinics I can do for kids. They don't have to pay for a t-shirt. I can give them a t-shirt. Spread the word, most people know about Rising Phoenix, but I won't be satisfied until everybody knows my name. Actually, I look just like my mom. For the first time ever, I went to the Juneteenth festival, and it wasn't, hey, Little Liberty. It was, she has a volleyball club. Let me get your information because I have a daughter that's interested. Like, that is the goal. If you want to help spread the word, and even beyond just volleyball, my goal is to be a mentor to as many kids as possible. I got excited, like I got emotional. I keep videos on my phone of like every moment that goes on. I'm emotional because I know I'm about to touch so many lives, and I understand that everybody that comes through my gym, they're not going to go to college for volleyball, but I guarantee you they'll be like, hey, I remember when I was with Coach Dayjah. I remember what she did. I know that I have won. Me being the one for all of these girls that I come in contact, it's the craziest thing, but I'm appreciative. So sponsoring kids, if you want to donate, I want to say the Cash App is Rising Phoenix Volleyball on Cash App.
We'll double check that and then get that out right too.
Just donate. Even positive words, because sometimes I've been like in this weird space where I'm like, yeah, I do have a volleyball club, but I'm overwhelmed because I'm also a mom. I'm tired. I have a baby.
I want to pull that gem out. So to all the people that come to me and say, how can I help with gun violence, or how can I help with this particular thing that's happening in Lansing, and you love Lansing and you're kind of stuck on what to do, you feel disconnected from it, sponsor a kid, mentor a kid, and
speak into a kid. It doesn't even have to be financial. Speak into a kid. Watch what you're saying to these kids. It shows when they come into the gym. It shows when you come into contact with them. Like, speak into them. The word can't is not allowed in my gym, and if even outside of the gym, I don't let my baby boy tell me what he can't do. He said the word impossible, and for the first time I was like, I don't like that word. We're not going to use that word. Granted, like, we tell them not to say damn and everything, but like, I don't like impossible either. So we're not going to do that. That's a cuss word as well.
Impossible is nothing, Quad.
See, he's not even paying attention. But yeah, sponsor them. Watch how you're talking to these kids, because I saw a tweet and it was so funny. They said, if we are getting older, who's going to be the pastors? Like, speak into these kids. We got to. Time is moving. I'm being called old.
You're getting old at 25?
Yeah, I'm like,
wait till you're 55.
I'm like, whoa.
So this is the longest show of season 2. We were, but I just couldn't stop talking to you. But let's start to wrap it up a little bit, and just what did we forget to say? What's something you'd like to take us out with, if anything?
What do I always say? I always say be great. I don't typically say goodbye. I always tell people to just be great. Be great is so broad because I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you have going on in your life, but whatever you have going, you're gonna make it through. What's the saying? If it's everything is going to be all right in the end, and if it's not all right now, it's because it's not the end. So just be great. Just keep going. You know, we got a world to take over.
All right, let's go take over this world.
Yeah.
That's a wrap for us today, guys. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Yay!
I am very honored that you were on the show and came to talk to me. We
Thank
love you
you
all out there. Do your best. Be great.
Be great.
And have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow and every damn day.